need someone to talk to and you don't know what to do, call us 214-4400 when you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us.
You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now back to the show.
Welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. It's your girl, Dania Roberts. And of course, with me today is the host of hosts, Cammie Roberts, also known as Mr. Roberts, Dr. Cammie, Dr. Roberts, or just plain old Cammie. And we also have with us today, of course, our very special co-host, Al Sue, aka Big Al, joining us all the way from VA. And once again, we are here to give insights, share information, and bring light to various topics that affect our communities at large. Of course, Kind Counseling is a mental health practice that gives hope to the hopeless through mental health empowerment and spiritual insight. And as always, we have a great show for you today with very special guests, our kids.
Oh boy, this is gonna be interesting.
Yes. Huh? So we have with us today Cammie Jr. Well, he's not really a junior, y'all, but his name is Cammie as well. And our daughter, Nia. And we're going to switch it up a little bit today. Some of our viewers and listeners may know that recently we had a major transition. We moved from NYC to Magnolia, Dela-where. And we're going to
giving out my information, man. What's wrong with you?
And we're going to talk about that entire process today from start to finish, because as all of you may know, everyone has moved. Moving can be very jarring and traumatic depending on how the move was done. And so we're going to share that with the community today and get some feedback from everyone, right? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the host of hosts.
Okay, all right. So you just threw me for a loop there, but it's all good. It's all good. So, all right. So today, actually, I was thinking about this because a lot of people I hear are saying they want to move, especially out of New York with all the crazy stuff that's going on. And it's just there's a lot of things to consider when you're moving. And sometimes they happen in the midst of moving, or even when you get there. So we just wanted to talk about some of that and in terms of issues that could come up for people when they do move. So we're gonna jump into that today. We're gonna keep it light, joke around a little bit. Alan's gonna talk a little bit about being in the military and moving. We're gonna talk a little bit about moving from a different country to America. So we're just gonna talk about moving in general, right? So we're gonna keep it light today. So I guess Dania, like I don't know if you wanna, just start with like what was it like for you, like in terms of like this whole process? Like you want to share a little bit about that?
You mean going from New York to Dela-where?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. Huh?
What'd you say, Al?
I said moving to the sticks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. So for me personally, I was ready to leave New York City. For quite a few years, I was getting very tired of the crowding. I was tired of the rushing. I was tired of, just everything being on top of you. And listen, New York is New York, right? There's nowhere like New York. There's nowhere like New York. It is the Big Apple. It's culturally diverse. There's lots to do in New York. It's the city that never sleeps. So I've been in Brooklyn all my life. I came to this country at the age of 3 from Haiti. I don't even remember anything about Haiti, right? So all I've ever known is Brooklyn, New York, Flatbush, Brooklyn, New York, Flatbush. And so, but I did reach a point where I was, just getting tired of it all. I used to work in the city for a lot of years. I got tired of that. After we had our daughter, I decided to start looking for work in Brooklyn because I just couldn't take the rat race of the city anymore. So that was an adjustment, working in Brooklyn, learning to work in Brooklyn and stuff like that. And even though that was kind of difficult in the beginning because I did miss the city, but once I started working in Brooklyn, I loved it. Like I did not want to go back to Manhattan for nothing. Like I didn't even want any job offers from Manhattan because I was just like, I'm not going back to the city. I'm not riding those dirty trains. I'm not doing none of that. So, so that's that. Yeah, the dirty trains. So that was one move. And then, being in Brooklyn, working in Brooklyn for a lot of years as well. What I think I started to feel was because now I was driving to work. So now I had to deal with traffic. And Brooklyn traffic is crazy. Like literally, our kids were in a school downtown Brooklyn, and I was working in Coney Island. And after I picked them up, getting home from that school would sometimes take an hour. And the school was maybe 20, 25 minutes away. If the weather was bad, it could take more than an hour because there was just so much traffic. I mean, you got everybody on the roads because in Brooklyn, everybody and their mama have a vehicle. Then you have the dollar vans, you have the dollar cabs, then you have the buses, bus lanes, you have Access-a-Ride, you have yellow cabs. So the traffic was ridiculous. And so that started to wear on me, right? So I was ready to go. I was really ready to just leave New York. It was just coming to that point where I just wanted something different. I wanted to be able to pull up to my house and not have to circle the block 10 times.
75 times.
Right. All of that. I wanted to, I just wanted to not have so many people be on the road because that's a hassle when you're sitting in traffic like that. There's this one little section in Brooklyn that my daughter knows it's hard to get past. And that's the blocks on Avenue I between Bedford and Flatbush.
Oh, yeah.
Those blocks, I mean, I don't even know it's not even a bus route. It was just always so congested. Like it took forever to get through those blocks. And so everything was just starting to wear on me in New York. Everything, homelessness started to appear again. It just started getting really dirty, like in the 80s during the crack epidemic. Like I was just like, I'm over this place. I just need a change of scenery. And so that was the initial feeling. I don't know if anybody else want to jump in about how they felt about New York.
Well, Alan, let me ask you, right? And then I'm gonna come to Nia and Isaiah because you left New York a long time ago, obviously. So
2003.
Say it again.
2003.
2003. All right. So what was it like moving out in New York for you?
It was a culture shock the first year because I went from New York to Chicago for a little bit, and that wasn't too bad because Chicago was kind of similar. Then I went from Chicago to Meridian, Mississippi, so that was completely like whoa.
Okay.
And then from there to Norfolk. So the first year I was like, man, I miss New York. But the more I was away, like I started visiting less because I was just like, this ain't it. Like New York isn't it. It started to really dawn on me like, this isn't it. You know what I mean? And I've been saying that for a while. But I think you have to kind of get away from the city to really realize, like, you know, it's better living other places. I mean, I always hated taking the bus to school, and I did that for years. You know what I mean? I always felt, you know, growing up as a teenager in New York, like it's just too much going on. That's just me. You know what I mean? So when I finally got settled in Virginia, I mean, I loved it. Like I loved, like, oh, I don't have 20 million people, you know, I don't have to worry about a dollar van. I don't have to worry about trying to walk to a bus stop. The noise, you know what I mean? Like I think you don't realize it while you're in it. So I was missing it at first, but then I started like seeing things more because I was away from it, if that makes sense. I think when you're in it, you don't notice certain things. Like you don't notice, you know what I mean, how filthy, like Dania was saying, the streets and whatnot are. You don't notice how annoying it is. Like summertime, I don't think you guys notice how many roaches are out and about in New York City. I mean, because when I was coming back, I would mention, like, yo, didn't you just see that? People are like, what are you talking about? Like, you get so accustomed to it.
You mean rats? What you talking about, roaches?
Yeah, rats.
Rat.
Well, that too, but I think the mice issue got even worse over time, right?
Mice. They know mice.
It's a rat problem. New York City has a rat problem.
Yeah, it's the parking craziness, getting up and moving cars. Like, come on, man.
Oh yeah, switching sides. It's that.
You know, actually, let me a quick story with that. I'm sorry, a quick story. So I think we moved here for like, it was like the third or fourth day. And I woke up like, you know, I just jumped out of bed and I was like, oh man, I gotta change the car. Like this on the wrong side. All right. I mean,
pop onto the driveway.
right, the car's in the driveway, but you know, I'm like tripping over alternate side because you get a ticket if you don't move your car by 9:30. So, you know. But
I remember my first apartment that I got in Virginia.
Right.
I asked the people that were renting it out to me. I'm like, well, where's the radiators?
Okay.
And they were like, what? And I'm like, like, I don't see no radiators. And they thought I was crazy. Like, dude, there's no radiators. And I'm like, wait, that's not a thing everywhere? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But I like I said, Mississippi was a culture shock, but Virginia wasn't that bad because, you know, there's a lot of New Yorkers here and it's not as country as Mississippi was. But I was only in Mississippi for a short time. When I got to Virginia, I loved Virginia. So
So now Nia and Isaiah, my lovely children. All right. All right. So for you guys, what I guess I mean, you can talk a little bit about like what stood out for you or what was the whole relocation process like for you guys?
You want to go first?
Please jump in, anybody.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. For me personally, it was a huge culture shock. I mean, as you've heard just now, I've been growing up in an urban setting my entire life. So moving to a suburban setting all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but yeah, just moving to a suburban setting was kind of like shocking. Like I wasn't really used to it. I mean, I wasn't really used to how quiet it was, so it was kind of it was an unfamiliar feeling.
Okay. You didn't hear the soak of that passing by?
Yeah.
Down the street.
And the gunshots and fireworks and right.
Yeah, the occasional car alarm.
And of course the nice smell of weed. Right.
I'm just saying, oh my goodness, car alarms. I remember being back at my mom, and it was like, after being away from New York for a while, when I came back, I was staying on 38, and I was like, yo, what is all the noise? Like car alarms going off, sirens, like it's too much, man. But
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
And Nia, what about you?
I mean, I would say the same. Like even when we went back to New York, like in July, like it was just. I don't know if I should bring that up or not.
Hey, well, come on, man.
Is it too early? Is it too early to bring it up?
Bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, like even when we went back to New York, it was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, like I'm used to it. Like it was kind of easy to get back used to it, but it was still kind of like, oh wow, like taking a step back, like it is kind of a lot to be here.
Mm.
Well, in what sense? Like in terms of what was a lot?
But there's just a lot going on. Like Alan was saying, like there's just like a lot of different elements in New York, if you want to call it that. But there's a lot of different things going on, like the noise and the people, and the smells, the aromas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
New York City is a lot.
yeah, I mean, well, listen, I don't want this podcast to become Let's Bash New York, right? Because I think there's a lot of great things about New York. You know what I mean? Definitely. I think the biggest one thing I will say is this: if you got to be ready to leave New York, otherwise it could be like you guys are saying like culture shock, right? In the sense of where we are now, it's like you're seeing cornfields and all that stuff. And like I said, like the quiet, you're not having the corner store. Actually, the other day, I'll tell you one thing I missed about New York was the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
That was like, that was my
Yeah.
thing, man. And I actually got a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich from some Amish people the other day. It wasn't bad, but it was in New York, right? But it wasn't bad.
Was it greasy enough?
It wasn't greasy.
Because they cook that egg in that day old grease.
It didn't taste as good, but I'm just saying that's something that I miss. Like the convenience of, you go to the corner store or across the street from the office, you get a sandwich, so now you got to drive 10 minutes if you want to go get a sandwich, you know what I mean? So, that's kind of how it is. But
Open the fridge. You can open the fridge and
man,
make
you can't make a sandwich like the corner store dudes, man.
Or you can order it and have it delivered
Order from where?
from a diner or something.
Nah,
Not the same. Not
it's
the
not
same.
the same.
Well,
It's not the
listen, you're not gonna, like I said before, you're not gonna get New York nowhere else. I'll tell you what I miss. I miss the availability of different kinds of foods. Like I
Yeah,
told you
that's
this
true.
morning, there's this Haitian restaurant that we used to go to. It's on, and I'm in. This is shameless plug. I don't have any connection to this restaurant, but the food is good. It's delicious. It's on Ralph and Avenue I, right, Nia?
Oh,
I'm from
Flatlands, yeah.
Flatlands.
Ralph of Flat. No, wait, Ralph
Yeah,
of
Flatlands.
Yes, Ralph of Flatlands. It's called Good
Know what it
Taste.
is.
Good Taste. It's a Haitian restaurant, and I miss Good Taste. I miss Good Taste because sometimes I be feeling like going and get me a plate of rice and beans and griot or tasso or something, and they don't really have that out here. They have one Haitian spot, and we tried the food there, and it just didn't measure up. And so I miss Good Taste. I miss being able to go to Golden Crust, get me a spinach patty. I miss just the different kinds of foods that New York offers. You just don't get that everywhere. So that's definitely something that I miss about NYC. Honestly, I wish that I could pick up my family, my friends, my church, and food spots and telco.
Telco with the
Yes.
irregular underwear telco. Come
Yes.
on, man.
Yes, I love me some telco.
Come
I wish
on,
I could
man.
pick those things up and just pick them up out of New York and drop them right here in Magnolia, Delaware, somewhere, because those are the things that kind of make me a little homesick, and so there have been times when I've felt like, oh, I miss NYC, but then you just got to kind of put things in perspective, and find the substitutes where you are. So
Well, I think well, you guys want to jump in, Isaiah or Nia? You want to say anything like in regards to moving?
I mean, I
what's
can
on your
definitely
list
relate.
of most?
I can definitely relate to a couple of things that I want to pick up and take with me, especially Jupioka. Right?
Oh, yes.
I used to go every single day after school, and now there's like I have to go to the mall, which is like 30 minutes away.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
Oh, wait,
and
but I thought Starbucks is your new spot now.
but not by choice.
Oh,
But she's always kind of like toggled, like Jupioka, Starbucks. And even though there are tea places out here, but it's,
Few and far between.
yeah.
Excuse me.
I don't know what none of that stuff is.
Okay.
Bubble tea? Your girls don't drink bubble tea?
I don't know. Probably. I mean, they got a They drink coffee. They got a little coffee bar in the house that Kel set up. I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know. I've never heard of the place that she just spoke about, and I have no clue what Telco is.
oh,
Telco is like a glorified 99-cent store.
it's not a
Okay.
99-cent
That's
store.
what,
It's a
it's like an
variety.
89-cent store.
No.
Target
It's
for
a
cheaper.
variety discount store. And I like it because they sell like a lot of little things for the house, cleaning products. Sometimes you can find little housewares, bathroom stuff like that. It's just a nice store, and it has really good deals. Now they do sell clothing that's irregular. We bought some things here. But if you're a small person, and you can wear their clothes, right? Like if you're really big, you probably can't get away with it. But if you're a small person, you can get away with their clothes, but I don't really buy their clothes. I go for all the other stuff. But anybody who's in Brooklyn that shops in Telco know about Telco. So
It's
Like a glorified Dollar General.
it's better than that. It's definitely
it's
better.
better. No, it's better than a 99-cent store. It's
I give
definitely
it that. It's definitely better.
It's good. No, I like
Well,
that.
I wish
well,
we had one out here.
well, the thing is also like what I find is in terms of from a mental health perspective, I find that one of the things that people struggle with when they move is loneliness, right? Because especially like I said, you move from a place like New York where is so many people around you, and also if you have family and friends, and you move to whether a suburban place where you don't have family or friends, it can become very lonely, right? And the thing is, you go outside during the day, nobody's outside. Like meaning nobody. You might see cars passing, but you don't see maybe because it's the summer and it's really hot, but people aren't really walking on the street, right? So you got to go to the mall or a strip mall or you know.
Actually, they do walk on the street around here. They jog, they ride bikes. They do. I see people, they walking their dogs.
Well, I'm saying like compared to New York, I'm saying where New
Yeah,
York
no,
has
you're not gonna have as much foot traffic.
right. So and the thing is like I think like Isaiah was saying like you could just jump in a dollar cab or B41 or Uber. I don't think I've seen one Uber since I've been in Delaware. I mean, if it is, I didn't recognize it.
I have.
You have okay.
Yeah,
So
there's Uber.
okay.
Where?
So
I
where?
was in front of your school the other day, picking up some kid.
I did not see this.
Probably more
Well,
expensive because everything is so spread out.
right. Well, that's the point, right? So I mean, so for you guys, would anybody could jump in? Like, was loneliness a factor for you, like in terms of being away from family and friends? You'd say anybody could jump in.
What's for me, definitely.
All right, and
Because I
huh?
what were you gonna say?
No, I was saying, you want to talk a little bit about that, like in what sense?
Yeah, because all of my friends, I haven't made any friends here yet. So any social interaction I get with people outside of my family is usually back in New York when I go over there for classes and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I definitely feel like because we don't really know anybody yet here, like, we see the neighbors outside, we'll wave hi and stuff like that. But we didn't get the welcome wagon when we got here. I was expecting somebody to
Hey,
bring cookies to the
hey,
door.
hey, speak for yourself.
We didn't, no. I mean, like, where's the neighborhood welcome committee? Like, we didn't get anything. So,
I'm just saying, like my boy next door, he been taking
oh,
care
well,
of me.
Kevin found himself a BFF already. Yeah, no,
I'm
we
just
didn't.
saying. I mean,
I was expecting anybody, to be like an upside down fruitcake or something, but we didn't get none of that. So I don't know. Maybe everybody's just minding their business. Maybe because it's COVID. I don't know. Anyway,
you were expecting an upside down fruitcake?
I thought somebody was gonna come with something and say, "Welcome to the
Knock
neighborhood."
on the
You
door.
you
Yeah,
watching too you watching
That's
too much
exactly.
Netflix,
I mean, I
man.
probably wasn't gonna eat it anyway, but, but I was
Wow,
fully expecting,
really?
somebody to do that, but they didn't do that, and so I figured maybe this is just the type of place where people just mind their business, go to work and come back home, or whatever, and that's fine. But it does make you miss your family and your friends back home a little bit more, because you don't have anybody to like call up and be like, hey girl, let's meet up for lunch or brunch, or do you want to go to the mall or whatever, you do. So you can't really do that yet because you don't know anybody. So it does kind of make you feel lonely. Yeah. So.
Well, Alan, let me ask you a question. You like in terms of being in the military and moving a few times, what was that like for you and like your family? Like what was that like?
Well, I could say one thing for the military, as far as what you guys are talking about, as far as the loneliness, the military is a little bit different with that because you can't go anywhere by yourself. So if you want to go somewhere, you have to go with somebody. So you tend to kind of you're kind of forced into a situation where a group of you have to speak. So that's why people make fun of military too. You'll see like a dude in cowboy boots, a dude with like, you know what I mean, like urban wear all together because you don't have a choice because you can't go by yourself. So you have to go with him to go anywhere. So you're forced.
Why is that?
Because you're young and they know at first when you start off, when you're like fresh out of boot camp and all that.
Oh, okay.
They don't want you just traveling around in an area you don't know by yourself.
Got it.
It's kind of an accountability thing. So you have to go check out and you have to check out with somebody. They try to keep you in like 2 to 3 people in groups.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you kind of like forced into community, if that makes sense, with each other. And then everybody is kind of away from home. So you kind of build that community. As far as moving with the military, moving, I mean, I moved a bunch of times. Like I think I was telling you earlier, I've moved like 8, 9 times. I've moved within the state a few times. And then I've moved out of state when we had to go to Arizona. That was rough. I think that was rough on all of us because we were so far away from everybody. It wasn't like 6 hours or we could just hop in a car and drive up to New York for a weekend. So that was definitely rough. I mean, well, I can't say we all. I know me and my wife, we hated Arizona. We hated being that far away. So the first choice, 18 months. I was supposed to be there for 3 years.
Okay.
The first opportunity I got for the Navy to send me back, I jumped on. And that's how I ended up back on a ship because that was the only way they would send me back to Virginia. They were like, if you want to go back to Virginia, you have to deploy again. So I was like, that's fine. I moved the family back. I'll deploy again. So I took that. For me, I think I just got so used to it, maybe. Like it doesn't bother me as much, or it didn't bother me as much. I think if I move now, it might bother me a lot because I've been in this house. We just realized like, oh, we've been here nearly 5 years now.
Okay.
For the kids, I think Arizona was rough on them also. When we moved back, we kind of moved back in a similar area that we were before. So they had a few people that they kind of knew. But Arizona was just out of our element. It was a complete change in everything. So, I mean, the culture and everything. It's not like the East Coast, moving up and down the East Coast, or being on the East Coast is completely different. Like you think moving from New York to Delaware is rough. Go from the East Coast to the West Coast, it's a complete different game out there. Like everything is just different. Like the way they maneuver is different, the way people act is different. So that was a lot for me.
Okay.
But for the kids, I mean, I'm sure that it was rough for them. They were kind of younger. Moving out to Suffolk, when we moved from Chesapeake back out to Suffolk when we bought this house, it was a little hard for them then too because they were starting to build back relationships, and then we moved like in the middle of the school year, so that was.
Oh wow!
Oh, in the middle of the school year.
Wow, that's rough.
Well, it was kind of. Well, we closed in I think November.
Wow. Okay.
We moved in like November time frame.
Okay.
So they had to start over at a new school in the middle.
Yeah, so trying to go into school in the middle of the years already start. I mean, I'm sure that was.
Yeah.
A lot for them to take on.
The
military doesn't keep you anywhere for longer than 3 years. So even though you're not moving, I may not have been moving out of Virginia because I was trying to stay in Virginia. So I was choosing to stay in Virginia. But every 3 years, you move into a new command. So at least 3 to maybe 5 if you extend. But 3 years and you're moving to another command. So 3 years working here, then you go work somewhere else. So now you have to start all over, figuring all those people out. And then by the time you figure them out and you get comfortable, all right, we're moving
Right,
into this
time
other
to
command and you got to start over. So we do that a lot. So we get
Right.
kind of,
Wow.
I guess I get kind of accustomed to it, and maybe I never looked at the broader scope of how maybe it does affect the kids and the wife, you know.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
we know, I was gonna say, we tried to wait, right? So when we just started talking about moving here, we intentionally waited until they finished the school year because Nia was in her last year of high school. And so we kind of, that was our condition with our buyer in New York and even here, the person who was selling his house, like we let them know that we're waiting for our kids to finish up with school. So, don't rush this process along because we started at the beginning of the year. So we didn't want it to move too quickly because we didn't want it to happen like in March, April, because they still had a couple more months to finish out.
So that also kind of threw us off too, Dania, because we were originally supposed to close in August.
Okay.
Remember, we had the house built, so and they extended it. So we're like, well, we got to put them in school.
Right.
You know what I mean? So our plan was to be moved in by the summer. They start the school year off, fresh in Suffolk, but it just didn't pan out. You know, when you're doing, you know how that stuff goes, paperwork, and we had to stop because of this inspection took too long. So it kind of pushed us out a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Now, for you, for you guys, Isaiah and Nia, what do you think it would have been like in the middle of the school year if you moved?
Nia would have died.
Nia would have scorned me for the rest of my life.
She would have.
You want to comment or either
Oh,
one?
I said probably.
Probably what?
I probably would have scorned you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you had a big year senior year. You had a big year.
That's true. And that was like my last full year in high school because I never really because when I was a freshman, we had the pandemic and stuff. And then junior year was my first full year being in the school.
Wow.
And so I kind of did want to finish up the school year being at Midwood. So
yeah.
Wow, I forgot about the pandemic. Oh my goodness.
Another story.
So you had my goodness, you had 2 years of high school basically.
Right. But she did all the 10th year at home.
Oh wow, I forgot about that. Okay. Well, all right. So another thing that people struggle with is like being fearful, right? Like that their plans might not work out, right? In terms of or just anxiety about like the unknown of a situation, like when you move, right? Because you don't know if things are gonna work out, right? Because people move for different reasons, obviously, right? So I mean, you hear stories about people moving and then they can't find a job, right? And then they got to come back to whether it's New York or whatever state they moved from, or sometimes people get divorced when they move for different reasons. You know what I mean? Or their children don't like the way that like the schooling is, or what have you. So I mean, and did you guys have any kind of anxieties or fears about moving, like that you can remember, like specifically? Anybody?
I did.
You said you did?
Isaiah.
No, you can go first.
No, I was saying I did. Obviously, because you don't know what life is gonna be like in this new place, right? Going to we've visited other states before, and we've been to Delaware before in the past. But living in a state and visiting or passing through is two different things. And so I didn't really know what to expect. I'm not, although I love nature, I'm a nature girl, but I'm not a nature girl, right? Because I don't like bugs and stuff like that. So I knew that moving to the suburbs meant
a nature girl.
Yeah, I like being outside. I like being in nature in the city.
What's that mean?
Let me explain.
He likes visiting city parts, I guess.
let me explain.
Like the city bike is not nature, okay? I'm just
City
saying.
park, city parks.
So I like being outside, like
Yeah.
in the park, where there's benches and stuff like that. But I'm not the type of person that wants to be in places that are woodsy or like there's a lot of trees. And so I don't do all that, right? I don't do all of that. So I knew that coming here would be a different experience, and growing up in Brooklyn, being in Brooklyn all my life, it's like Alicia Keys saying, it's the concrete jungle, right? We used to the concrete jungle.
Right.
So now got to get used to a different kind of jungle. What was the question again?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What's the question again?
We were talking about anxiety and fears that people have, like about
Yeah,
moving.
so I definitely was afraid of meeting these next level bugs, which we have seen quite a few since
Oh my
we've been here.
God,
Since I was like,
stop.
I'm not prepared to deal with all of this,
Oh my God.
all of this stuff. So,
Yo, Dania, if you survive water bugs, you can't be worried about bugs. Come on.
barely.
Y'all survived
Barely.
master splinters out there. You worried about bugs.
What'd you say?
I said, you
Splinters?
survived master splinter running around New York. You worried about some bugs.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, I do, and I have. I worry about these bugs. Like I'm like, close these doors, stop letting these bugs in here. All of that. So yeah. But then the other thing is, coming to a new place, you don't know anybody. We are self-employed, so it's not like we're going out to a job where we can even meet other people. So it's like, what are we gonna do when we get here, right? We don't know anybody. We don't have family out here. We don't have anything. So what exactly are we going to be doing when we get out here? Now I know, of course, in my head, I know you just gotta, once you find like a church where you can start meeting people and you start making friends, get to know people in the neighborhood, then it's gonna feel more or less isolated, I should say. But until that time, it's like, we out here by ourselves.
Okay.
So.
Did for the rest of you guys, any anxieties or fears? Anything you are anxious about, like in terms of moving?
I mean, it was kind of the same because I feel like for me, like it was kind of like double that because I mean, me and my friends are all going to college, so it just kind of felt like I mean, if I went away to school, I think it would be different because like I could come back to New York and like, meet up with my friends. But like it just kind of felt like, oh, we're really all like going our separate ways now.
Mm.
So it was just kind of like double of the same, kind of like not really knowing anybody.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's interesting. And Isaiah, what about you? You were about to say something. Any fears or anxieties?
I guess that I would lose touch with the friends that I had in New York, at least the most recent ones, because like I've jumped to a lot of different places, a lot of different schools. So I mean, I'm no stranger to losing touch with people. But I guess the recent ones that I made, I kind of didn't really want to like lose touch with them because I figured after college, like if we still were in New York, I'd probably still see them on a consistent basis.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, that's interesting you say that because actually me and Danya were talking earlier, and I realized that the friends that I have in New York, we tend to text all the time anyway, right? So it's like like one of my good friends, like Fred, he lived, I want to say 15 blocks from me, and I saw him once like last year, or maybe twice, right? All we did was text and maybe sometimes phone call, but so for me, I guess the transition wasn't as rough because as like Alan, I still keep texting. You know what I mean? So, but I think for you guys, like being in school where you're seeing your friends like every day, that's a lot different. You know what I mean? So, so it's a little. I guess it was a little different for me.
I think what's important when transitions like this happen is that you have to sort of be intentional about staying in touch with people. Otherwise, it's very easy for friendships to kind of fade, and people that you used to talk to a lot, that can kind of fade because you're in a new place and they're still in the same old place as before, right? So they're still in Brooklyn. Now we're here. And so what I've tried to do is just be really intentional about just staying in touch with people, even if it means sending a text and saying, hey, thinking about you, how you doing? Or maybe actually picking up the phone and calling them and having a nice long conversation with them. Like, you know, for you guys, the kids I'm talking to now, you know, maybe just instead of texting, pick up the phone and call and find out. I know, right? Call them, you know, you know, find out what are you guys up to? How has college been since you started it? And you share your experiences and stuff. And those are the things that kind of help you deal with feeling somewhat isolated. And that connection just warms your heart, you know, it just makes you feel fuzzy inside because you kind of got to catch up with that person and talk and be intentional about it. Because I'll tell you, a lot of friendships have faded away and even died because people just don't take the time to or make time to pick up the phone and call people. And I'm speaking from experience. I've lost contact with a bunch of people over my life too, because sometimes you think I should really call that person. And like, I don't feel like talking right now. And then you don't call that person. And then a week turns into a month, turns into 6 months, turns into a year, turns into 5 years. So, and then before you know it, and they're probably thinking the same thing too. So somebody has to be intentional about staying in touch, period.
True.
If you don't do that,
Okay.
no.
All right.
Piggyback on what Dania said too, you got to also be intentional about the fact that you're in a new area. One thing we've always done is when we did move to new areas was we started looking like, what do they got going on? And we start exploring, like we explored Arizona, we explored Suffolk when we got out here, because it helps you to kind of see what's going on in the city and the area you're in. And then you kind of appreciate the area that you are in a little more too, because you know, oh, I have this over here. Oh, I didn't know they did this over here. You know what I mean? Because every city is doing something all the time. You know what I mean? I know even out here they're doing like Taste of Suffolk this weekend in the rain, but whatever. So we have to be intentional of that too, and don't isolate, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does. It does.
I had to do that a lot. Like we had to do that in Arizona. When I came to Virginia, I intentionally did that when I first came out here. I'm like, man, I'm gonna go see what is in Norfolk. I'm gonna go explore this whole place until I know it like the back of my hand. So I went out, you know, seeking to figure out what was going on in the area I was in. So
yeah, and what's in the town.
Yeah, what's going on. I met friends that way too. Just running into people like, oh, hey, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So what is last question I'm gonna ask, right? Is what is something that you experienced during moving that people would never think about? Anybody could jump in.
Something you know
About
Huh? I
no
could
one
give
would
one.
you said?
Huh?
That no one would think about, you said?
Or that people might not consider. Like one thing that something that you experienced that I mean I could give one. Like for example, I didn't realize how hard movers work. Okay. I mean, those guys were like, I mean, wow. I mean, they were like little dudes lifting up like whole couches by themselves, man. I was just like, wow. I mean, that was crazy. Okay. I didn't realize how hard movers work, man. Right. So I'm just saying, make sure y'all tip the movers if you move, man, because these dudes work hard, man. Right. We left like we started 7 in the morning and they left our house in Delaware after midnight and then had to drive back to New York, man. So kudos to movers, man. Those guys are hard workers, man. I'll say that. All right. Anybody else?
I felt
Sure.
bad for not helping them.
Huh?
I felt bad because I wasn't helping them that much.
Nah, man.
Have to help
you
them.
you
That's what they
paying
get
them. What you
paid
talking about?
No, but still.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
they don't need no help. You will probably get in their way more than anything else.
Probably.
Something that people don't think about.
Yeah, in terms of moving that you experienced.
Changing your address.
Oh, right, man.
That
Oh,
is something that I experienced that was the worst because I ended up like falling behind on bills at one time. Like
Yeah.
mail was it was that's something that you have to like people take for granted. And, oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. But changing your address is like
Yeah.
one of the most headaches. And then the postal service takes so long to do it, and they're trying to forward mail and you because you don't pay attention to your mail or your address, right? Most of it now is junk.
Hmm. That's interesting.
But everything you do, they ask you for an address. Even when you try to renew anything, or what's your address? Or your address doesn't match, or because it's all tracked now, right? So,
It's
Okay.
true.
and if the postal service doesn't change it, for us, even our pay, because we do contribute, what's the word? Contributions to the thing called TSP. And if you try to access it, your address has to be updated, and they have to send you a PIN to your address. So if you move, they're sending it to the old address.
Right.
I'm just saying, to me, that was throughout all the time and moving, the few times that I have moved, to me, that's always been like the biggest headache is making sure the address is changed.
So every time you move, you had to make a change of address?
Yeah, every time you move, you have to
Yeah.
change the address.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's changing your address a whole bunch of times for you guys then, Alan.
Yeah, then it's tracked, and then you have to remember it all because then people ask you security questions like, "Hey, did you live at this address?" And you're like,
Right.
"I don't remember the house number."
Oh my
Right.
goodness. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I
Right.
still have like 1176 East 38 on stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like,
I forgot about that.
I mean, it's all tracked, but
Right.
it can become a headache if you don't change it in time. They normally says it takes like 5 to 10 days, but we know how the postal service is.
Right. Right.
Right. So then you're getting stuff still sent to the old address, and hopefully that they're forwarding it to the new address, and that doesn't always happen. So
Okay.
I guess I have like past trauma from change of address issues.
When you change the address.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
just something that I've always thought about. It's always been in the back of my mind. The change of address is something that's people don't necessarily think about.
Okay. All right.
I think for me, it's just the amount of stuff that has to get done before you actually move. Oh my goodness. Like not only the change of address, but cutting off services
All right.
here. Oh my goodness, that was like, I could not wait. And then we were in boxes for a while. We were in boxes for a while, right? Because we moved at the end of June. And I think we started packing, I want to say maybe a couple of weeks, because I didn't want to wait till the last minute to try to get everything packed. So we were in boxes for a while, and that started to make me crazy, just walking around and then seeing all these boxes everywhere. So yeah, moving is a big deal. It really is a big deal.
Yeah,
And
it's stressful. Yeah.
I've moved maybe, let me see, probably about 6 times in my lifetime, 6 or 7 times. This is Nia's first move ever. And Isaiah,
right.
Isaiah has moved with us. Well, we moved when he was 2, and then we moved again when he was 3. So this is his 3rd move,
Okay.
coming here. But yeah, it's stressful, just the packing. I think for me, the packing part is stressful. And I think what helps is if you kind of start doing it early. Yeah, you're going to be in boxes for a little bit, but it alleviates the stress of trying to get everything packed up at the last minute. And I just didn't want that kind of stress in my life. So I try to tackle it little by little every day. I intentionally I'm going to pack about 2 to 3 boxes each day until it was all done. So by the time the movers got to us, there really wasn't anything to do but come in and pick up the boxes and the furniture. Everything was already packed up. So
okay. Yeah, there.
So would you say that strategy was the lesser two evils?
And what would be the other evil? Waiting till the last minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me,
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, for me, it was the lesser of 2 evils because, like I said, I didn't want to deal with the stress of last minute packing. I did not want, and I didn't want to be packing when the movers got there. So,
Yeah, the other thing too is deciding what to throw out and what to keep. That is like
that too.
I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
Not me. I'm throwing everything out.
Okay. Someone
Yeah,
after
yeah,
my own heart.
I'm the throwaway
Yeah, I was
king.
like that.
Like, look,
oh my God.
Yeah.
throwaway
Yeah. You
king.
realize you have a whole lot of junk stuff. You're
Yeah,
like, why do I still have this? So
right.
much junk that you accumulate over the years. So yeah, I tell you,
Mm.
my parents moved last November, right? So we grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn, in Vanderveer, all my life. My parents have been living there about 40 something years, 41, 42 years. And last November, they moved from that apartment that we grew up in. And I tell you, it turned them all the way around because, like, my parents are in their 80s. So that was a big deal for them. Like, it was a major life event.
Yeah,
Them,
I'm sure.
I mean, my father did not know if he was coming or going because it was just so much to do. And of course, we helped them, do the things that they needed to do. But it was just really a big, big deal for the both of them, especially at their ages. So, yeah, that's a big deal.
And Isaiah and Neil, what about you guys? What is something about moving that people might not consider or that you experience that you'd want to alert people to?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I would say like the boxes thing again, like how much space boxes actually take up.
Hmm.
Like I didn't realize like and I had like a lot of boxes in my room. I think I had like 6 or 7 boxes in my room. So
Hmm.
like by the time we were ready to leave, like I couldn't even like go get off my bed without having to like maneuver around a giant box.
Right,
Mm.
right.
Yep.
And Zaya, what about you?
Me personally, it was the amount of people that actually like cared that you were leaving. Like I told a few people and then like in my old church and then like word got around and then like a whole bunch of people were just asking me, yo, you're moving? And I was like, yeah, I figured.
Yeah, yeah.
So is that's a good thing or a bad thing that they knew you were moving?
No, it's not a bad thing. Just didn't realize that they were gonna like ask me about it. I
Okay.
kind of thought like because we like some people I didn't really talk to that much. So I kind of figured that they either didn't know me or just didn't like know anything about me. So when they asked me like you're moving to so and so, I was like, yeah, wow. I didn't realize you knew.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that's another thing you also find out who cares or who doesn't like when you move. Okay, in the
Right.
sense that, you think like, oh man, like that, like somebody didn't even reach out, they knew you were moving, or they didn't keep in touch, or stuff like that too. So it gives you a sense of like, you know, who's important, so to speak, or not important in your life, or who really connects with you and who doesn't. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think you find out a lot of things about relationships also when you move, like how close was that relationship? You
Yeah.
know?
And then some people get mad that you're moving too.
Yes, this is
You're
true.
leaving them.
Right. This
Yeah,
is
you're
true.
leaving. Yeah, you're leaving them. We had one of our old neighbors call us flat leavers. Right. We're flat
Yes,
leavers. Yeah. So
this
people
is
have
true.
their
This is true.
feelings around, us or you moving, whether one way or the other. Some will be sad, some will be mad, some people will be excited for you and say, oh, congratulations, whatever. I'm gonna miss you, but I'm happy for you. Yeah, so it's a lot of emotions that go along with it for both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So does anybody want to add anything before we wrap up? Anybody want to say anything else about moving?
I think what was nice
Yes.
was that we really had the opportunity to wrap our heads around the fact that we were leaving. It wasn't something that was sudden,
Hmm.
right? Like some people have to just pick up and leave suddenly, but
Right.
we literally went like a whole half of the year preparing for the move, getting our heads around it, dealing with the emotions. We had the opportunity to have lots of talks about it. And so that was nice, and I know not everybody gets to leave like that. Not everybody gets to move like that. We had the opportunity to tell our family, listen, this is where we're going, whatever, whatever. But it didn't happen abruptly. And so that was nice, it gave me time anyway to kind of get used to the fact that, wow, I'm really leaving New York. We're
Yeah.
really going. So that was nice.
It didn't feel real to me until the day of, honestly.
Huh?
It didn't feel real to me until the day of, to be completely honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe like the week before.
Well, listen, I was packing up the office and the house, so I was, I was ready. I was like, this is gonna happen. We're moving.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh! But
Yeah.
anyway, all right. So I thank you guys, the two of you especially, for indulging us with your presence.
Special
Yeah.
guest.
Yes. And thank you guys for sharing. Hopefully, this was helpful to people who might be considering moving or, are leaving soon. Just some things to consider. And we'll be back next month with another podcast. And we thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share. All right, and hit the like button.
Yes.
All right, so we'll see you guys next month.
All right.
All right. Hey, hold on a second. Let me see.
If I
Stop
ever
it.
took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy counting.